Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasari Pura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Dinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu, so you can just start.
Give me one moment.
No problem. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining us.
So we can start?
Yeah.
Okay. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Other devotees may join us, but for the time being, we'll just continue. So I'll first start by offering my pranam prayers and asking for the blessings of the acharyas and Supreme Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sja Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sra He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate He Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Rishabhanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, Hare Krishna and welcome. So where we stopped last week, I'll try to continue. And we stopped at the point of devotional service. And I offered my apologies because I had not done all the preparation. I'm somewhat better prepared today, and I may have too much material. If so, we'll just carry on next week. So actions in pure devotional service or Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga. The names actually mean the same thing. So what is it? What is this, pure devotional service? What is it? We get an idea from the personalities in our disciplic succession who are acharyas, teachers. They are authorities on these subjects. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago, he is Krishna himself, appearing in the wonderful combined mood of, Radha and Krishna. He's got the sentiment and the devotional sentiment of Srimati Radharani, but he's also the authority of Krishna. And in that combined mood, he's actually explaining perfectly well what is devotional service. And also our whole Krishna consciousness movement is established under his authority. It is he who actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who established the process of spiritual worship for this yuga, which is the chanting of the holy name. He inaugurated, Mahamantra was already there, but it wasn't officially inaugurated. So all the devotees who are joining, welcome, pranams to you. So Lord Chaitanya, when he met the Goswamis, he was instructing them and he drew them into Krishna consciousness. And in particular, he actually enlightened Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami. And for 10 days, he taught him about devotional service, continually for 10 days. So when we hear and when we read and when we actually try to understand the teachings of the Goswamis, we're really fully on the path of devotional service because they are complete experts. So he's speaking to Rupa Goswami. He explains that first-class devotional service is known by one's tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness favorably. The favorably is very important, as you'll see in a moment, but to be fully engaged in the Lord's devotional service, service to please the Lord. And I'll take my time so that we can actually understand. We, in a way, know what it is, but we don't know how important it is. Most devotees who have a deity at home, you know, you go to temple regularly, you do artis at home, you know, you do japa, you read scriptures, you're engaging in devotional service. But what I hope this presentation will achieve, is that it will make you more convinced of the importance of it and actually help you to become more dedicated to actually doing it, because it's very, very auspicious. And nothing pleases the Lord more than devotional service. So to be fully engaged, you know, without any favorably engaged in the Lord's service. Devotional service means to prosecute Krishna consciousness. That means to do Krishna conscious activity which are favorable to the transcendental pleasure of the Lord. And any activity which is not favorable to the transcendental favor of the Lord is not accepted as devotional service. And that is why you can understand now when the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, Sarva Dhamman Parityaja, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender to me, because only what is pleasing to him is actually beneficial. And if one's satisfied and one is actually surrendered to the Lord, then it means that you're only going to do that activity which is actually sanctioned by him. And that becomes pure devotional service. So what is not devotional service? And sometimes we get a little confused. Great demons like, you know, Ravan, you know, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, you know, they were thinking of Krishna all the times. They were going to Himalayas. I mean, Hiranyakashipu was standing up until all the bones, all his flesh was eaten off. When Lord Brahma came to see him, Lord Brahma couldn't see a body. He only saw a termite hill with fire coming out of the top of it. His body was completely eaten. So much tapasya. Ravan was doing so much tapasya, you know, to please Lord Shiva, you know, whatever. Either way, the thing is that they're thinking of the Lord. I'm not putting Lord Shiva in the same category of as Lord Krishna, so don't make that mistake. But the fact is, they're thinking. Hiranyakashipu was thinking, you know, all these devotees are thinking about Lord Krishna, but they're not thinking about him favorably, especially Kant. Kant was always thinking about Lord Krishna, but he wasn't thinking about him in a favorable way. He was thinking, even before the Lord appeared, he was thinking, how can I kill him? How can I finish him? How can I get rid of him? So that thought of activity is not pure devotional service. It's not favorable. So that which we do in the Lord's service must be favorable and pleasing to the Lord. Then it's devotional service. So in summary, one should be free from all material designations. How do we become free from material designations? Lord Krishna, he explains this and demonstrates it in Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is bewildered and he doesn't know his duties, he's actually refusing to fight. The first thing the Lord has to do, and the first thing the Lord does in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he convinces Arjuna clearly about his identity. He says, you are not this material body, and you're not perishable. He says, all these kings, oh, you, me, all these kings assembled here, we always have been, we always will be. And then he goes on to tell him how the soul moves into another body, you know, after death, and the soul transmigrates and is never destroyed. He gives such detail. So that is, we have to become free from material designations. It's very important that we know that distinction. I'm not this body. I may be in a female body. I may be in a male body. I may have any kind of cultural designation. I may have any kind of social designation, qualification, etc. But I am not this body. I'm eternal spirit soul. Lord Krishna convinced Arjuna of this, and with that basis, he could then be clear about his designation. One must be cleansed from all material contamination by Krishna consciousness. That is to say, as long as we are not engaged in the Lord's devotional service in some way, it means that we are materially contaminated. We must be clear of that. One should be restored to his pure identity. That links to the first point I've made. One should engage one's senses in the service of the master of the senses. And who is that? Rishikesh. That is Krishna. So we have to have some identification with him. In the beginning, when we're in material life, especially when we're in grihastha life, it's very difficult to keep ourselves always engaged with Krishna. But the Lord actually explains in Bhagavad Gita, because he explained to Arjun, Arjun, you're going to fight, but do it for me. Don't stop fighting, but do it for me. So we have to learn that science of how we can continue our activities, but actually engage ourselves and our thinking in the service of the Lord. Be thinking about pleasing him. We don't have to stop our activities. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it very clear. Stay in your designation, stay in your position. If you're a householder, don't think about becoming a sannyas. Stay there in your household position, but be a devotee. Think of me, serve me, surrender to me, and you'll make progress from that point. So when our senses are engaged in the actual propriety of the senses, this is called devotional service. So stay where you are, but fix your mind and do activities for Krishna. Don't be the enjoyer. Let Krishna be the enjoyer of our activities and also be the motivation for activities. Lord Kapila Dev was speaking to his mother, and he also gave her, Mother Devahuti, a lot of wonderful instructions about devotional service. He explains to her, my dear mother, those who are pure devotees, who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation, their minds are so engaged in my service that they're never interested in asking me for anything except to engage in that in service. They do not even beg to live on the same abode as me. This is one of the qualities. You speak to some devotees, some other religions, they're aspiring to go to heaven. And the whole determination is to go there and enjoy and then eat nice things and be relaxed. But for the devotee, the pure devotee only wants to be engaged in Krishna's service. Whether Krishna takes him home or not, that's another thing. That's not the first consideration. The first consideration is that I'm nicely engaged in the Lord's service. So wonderful in his devotional service that it has that effect on the devotee who is practicing it. There are 5 kinds of liberation. When we get out of material entanglement, when we are enlightened, there are 5 types of liberation. One is to become one with the Lord. That is not I'll go through them and then I'll go back. To become one with the Lord. To live with the Lord on the same planet. To have the same features as the Lord. To enjoy the same opulence as the Lord. And to live as a companion to the Lord. These are the 5 kinds of liberation. Number 1, the devotee doesn't want that. The bhakta is never thinking like that. Devotional service that's not the aspiration of devotional service, to become one with the Lord. Because the Lord is the supreme person and we are his eternal servant. So there's no sense of merging for us and the Lord. And that merging means we want to go to the Brahma Jyoti, which is at the entrance of the spiritual world. Very beautiful, peaceful, tranquil atmosphere. But we cannot go through to the past the Brahma Jyoti into the spiritual world if we do not have this devotional service. Devotional service is a practice. I am a person, and I have my identity. The Lord is a person and he has his identity. The relationship is that he's my master, I'm his eternal servant. And what devotional service does, it gets us to start to practice and re-establish that relationship. Srila Prabhupada explains that this Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. I could be born in a Jamaican society, in a French society, in a Russian society, and I take to Krishna consciousness. Because I have a French, Russian, or Jamaican body, I'm not artificially pretending to be Indian. No, this Krishna consciousness is my original consciousness. It's just that I happen to be in that body, in that culture, at that gender at this time. But the practice of Krishna consciousness is eternal. It's my original consciousness. It's just that in the material atmosphere, it's become covered by culture, by gender, and by so many other things. But the original consciousness is Krishna consciousness, because we are eternal servants of the Lord. He's the eternal master. So we don't want to go to the Brahma Jyoti, and when we practice devotional service, we are re-establishing our relationship of master-servant with the Supreme Lord in that way. A devotee, not to speak of rejecting material sense gratification, does not want any of the 5 kinds of liberation. He's satisfied simply by discharging his service to the Lord. This is the characteristics of a pure devotee. Another one of the reasons why this is there is that a pure devotee is not working independently. He's not working independently. Just as how in a family, you know, you have your young children, even if they're teenagers, they're taking guidance from the parent. They're not working independently. They may sometimes act independently, especially teenagers, but sooner or later they come back. Even when they're acting like they're big persons, they run out of money or they need something that they can't get, and they have to come back to the authority of the parents. So another reasons why the devotees, you know, they are satisfied by discharging devotional service is because the devotee is never independent. He's going to be acting under the guidance of his spiritual master. And the spiritual master is going to say to him, please, you do this for me. You engage in the Lord's service like this. And in that way, the devotee is satisfied in that discharge of devotional service. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he goes further and he says there's 6 characteristics of devotional service. So when I start this devotional service, how will I know? There must be something about it that makes me know that there's something special about it. He says there's 6 things. And what are those things? He says pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. And I can actually give you an example of that. And many devotees, especially if they're coming from non-Bharati and non-Indian culture, and they're hearing this philosophy, they're chanting this mantra for the first time, we nearly all have the same experience. When we chant this mantra, when we hear Bhagavad Gita, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, whatever problems and distress we have, it tends to go away. Those devotees who know me well, they will know I like to chant all of my rounds at once. When we do our chanting or japa, sometimes we do 2, sometimes we do 3, sometimes we do 5, some devotees do 8, and then they make up the numbers some other time. But my habit from the beginning of my Krishna consciousness, I always like to do all my chanting. Why? There's a reason why. Because I found that when I was chanting, I felt blissful. I felt wonderful. I felt all my problems disappeared. I felt in a different place. The energy was different. I was relaxed. I was peaceful. Something was happening. I didn't know what was happening, but something was happening and I enjoyed it. And therefore, I wanted it again tomorrow. I had it today, I wanted it tomorrow, and I wanted it the next day. So I kept trying to get it the next day by chanting my rounds. So pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. And similarly, I can give you a better example than me. There used to be, it's not so much said now because ISKCON is very big and well established. But go back 30 years, it used to be very well known. When I joined ISKCON, Nabi and Jayanti, you can speak for yourself. Other devotees on the program can speak. It used to be well known that the Hare Krishna movement, and when devotees came into contact with the Maha Mantra and started chanting and started actually joining Kirtan and started taking Krishna Prasad, the effect on them was it was so therapeutic that all kind of emotional problems, mental problems disappeared. Those who were addicted to drugs, they actually gave up their addictions. It was well known. It was very, very well known. Because the movement is so big now, maybe the cases where it's happening is not so well documented, but it was well documented that simply by living with the Hare Krishna, simply by taking association, those who were smoking ganja, those who were taking other drugs, they soon stopped it. It cleaned them up. Those who are actually having emotional problems, it cleaned them up. And many devotees brahmacharis who moved into the ashram had the same experience. It actually fixed them up. So pure devotional service, it brings immediate relief from all kinds of distresses. Number two, pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. What does that mean, all auspiciousness? All auspiciousness means that everything that is good, everything that is required for making, your spiritual life successful, it starts by being engaged in devotional service. From that little beginning, everything great will happen. It's like you want to actually set up and establish a very big building. There's some very tall buildings in the world today. But you want to establish a very big building. Well, what's the first thing you do? You clear the ground and lay a foundation. And on that foundation, you can structure your very big building. So similarly, pure devotional service is the beginning. That's the foundation. And on that, your whole spiritual success can come. Pure devotional service automatically puts one in a transcendental pleasure. Let's link to point one. And pure devotional service is rarely achieved. It's not easy to get devotional service. You can actually get yogic powers. You can get so much knowledge. And there's so many schools teaching these things. And you can become very advanced and very elevated. You can do so many yogic things if you're into that. But pure devotional service is very hard to get. It's very rarely attained, very rarely achieved. Pure devotional service is really achieved. Those in pure devotional service, they derive the concept of liberation. Pure devotional service is only, is so attractive that even Lord Krishna is attracts even Krishna himself. It's so powerful that even the Lord himself is attracted to devotional service. And why? Because this is internal potency that's making it up. Did anybody have this title's at the top, so I can't play any guessing game. The title is there. But everyone knows about Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj, small boy, but his story is very significant. And Prahlad, his teaching is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. He knows all about devotional service. And his instructions on devotional service actually also must be clearly understood. So he's telling us about devotional service. He says that there's 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakya, Atmani, Vedanam. And what does that mean? He says hearing the name and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is important. Hearing is important. Chanting the glories is important. And then remembering the Lord is important. And then serving the Lord is important. Worshipping the Lord is important. Offering obeisances to the Lord is important. Acting as the Lord's servant is important. Making friends with the Lord is important. And surrendering everything to the Lord. These 9 processes are the activities of devotional service. So we don't have to make it up. We haven't got to make it up. What do I do? If I want to actually engage in devotional service, all that I've said before is so liberating, it's so purifying, it's so this, it's so that. But how do I do it? Here is the how. I hear a name and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if I read Bhagavad Gita or I listen to Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, I hear about the Lord's pastimes, especially, Srimad Bhagavatam. So many leelas are there. If I hear that, then I'm glorifying, I'm engaging in devotional service. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is all about the Lord and his pastimes. And Bhagavad Gita is the same. Chanting his glories. So we're going to talk more about chanting. And then remembering the Lord's pastimes. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we try to remember those leelas. Like I mentioned Prahlad Maharaj, there's no time to go into that leela. But just by remembering these leelas, it's important. And they're instructive. When we remember Bhagavad Gita and all the intrigues, Duryodhan, Shakuni, Dhritarashtra, when we remember those devotees and those personalities and how they behave, it becomes instructive for us. And how the Lord actually deals with them is very instructive for us. So remembering is important. and then serving the Lord. Most devotees are doing one or some of these or combination of these. Most devotees have got an altar at home. They're serving some Ishtadev, whoever their personalities that they're servicing, but they're worshiping the deities very nicely. That is devotional service. Offering obeisances to the Lord is very important. This was one of the things when you come from non-Bharatiya culture, you don't know, especially if you come from Jamaican culture. Jamaican culture is it's like a crude. It's not like when I don't know if Sam is on the call, but when I think of Sam and Ghanaian culture, African culture is very humble, it's very gentle. Jamaican culture is not like that because we've been so mistreated by the British so that we don't know what offering obeisance is. It looks like a weakness to us, bowing down to somebody, bowing down. So that is something that we have to learn. And many Western people have to learn this. What is this bowing down business? You know, praying obeisances. If you come from Bharatiya culture, it's second nature. You've been trying to do it. You've been taught to do it since you're a baby. When I was Pujari in the temple, mothers used to come with their babies, you know, and the first thing they're doing, they're putting the baby's head down in front of Krishna. So they're doing it from a baby. But if you've grown all your life and then somebody tells you all of a sudden bow down, you don't know what this bowing down thing means. But offering obeisances to the Lord is very important. And there's always reasons why. That offering obeisances is part of the surrendering process and it must be done. Actually, you will see, again, if you're in the temple and you see, sometimes my Guru Maharaj used to do it. If you have sannyasis, they come and you see how they, at whatever age they are, they always bow down. Sometimes you observe them and it's very difficult. Their health is not really permitting, but still they do it. They do it. You observe. I observed my Guru Maharaj. He had to be assisted many times to stand up afterwards, but they always offer obeisances. It's a requirement because the Lord is my master. There's no equality between me and my master. My master is my master. And I offer my humble obeisances to him. He is the source of everything. So acting as the Lord's servant is very important. And again, these things, we will hear them, but to practice them, you need help to practice them. We all need help to practice them. And then making friends with the Lord. And surrendering oneself to the Lord. Very difficult. They're easy to read, but they're hard to do. But so therefore, we need help in how to do them. And that help comes from the advanced devotees who are fixed up. They're not speculating. The act of hearing, though simple, is very simple. And I advise devotees, so many facilities are there these days. On your phone even, I'd say this always to Matajis, also to Prabhus. But Matajis, you spend so much time in the kitchen. If you're still cooking, and what you do, you just put your phone, you just go, or your laptop, you just go onto YouTube, you just put whatever, you could put Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or any of the holy books, or you can just go for bhajan kirtans and it'll come up. And whilst you're cooking, you're listening, you're hearing Krishna Lila, you're hearing Bhagavad Gita, you're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, you're hearing Krishna book, you're hearing Chaitanya Chaitamrita, and that hour cooking is passed so quickly. And whilst you're cooking, you're actually hearing and you're remembering. So many pastimes that actually, you're engaging in that Lord's pastimes like that, by hearing like that. Hearing is very important. And then you can actually make a habit of hearing whilst you're actually in that space during that time. Okay? So please try to follow those instructions. Hearing is very important. So Shravanam or hearing is the first step to acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should give oral reception to authorized persons, but we should not approach a person, but should approach a proper person as recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Hearing from unauthorized people is not important. Hearing from speculators is not valuable. It's not valuable. It's going to do damage. Hearing from those who have their own opinions, or they want to tell you that, no, Krishna, Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. They've got it all mixed up. Hearing from such personalities won't help. You need to hear from authorities who are themselves are engaged in the Lord's pure devotional service. So how to gain this transcendental knowledge? Again, I'm repeating. Bhagavad Gita tells us, the Lord tells Arjuna how you get this transcendental knowledge, who to hear from, and what you will hear. He says, Tadvidi, Bhagavad Gita 4:34, Tadvidi pranipatena, pariprashnena sevaya, upadekshanti te jnanam, jnaninas tattva darshanaha. He says, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively, and then render service unto him. The self-realized person can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. They have seen the truth. What does that mean? How did they become self-realized? They didn't work it out. They didn't actually sit down and use their big brain to work it out. No, they heard from their spiritual masters, who heard from their spiritual masters. The same Shastra that was given by Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma is the same coming down, the same Bhagavad Gita, the same Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what they teach. They're not making anything up. So when you hear from them, they're telling you that knowledge which is realized, full of potency, no speculation, no imagination, no I don't know, or could be, maybe, so. No, that is not spirit, that is not transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge is accurate. It's there. So that is what the guru does. But to actually get that, you have to be submissive and you have to render service. And then when the guru becomes pleased, your whole life is opened up. It's always been like that, and it will always be like that. If he becomes pleased, then that's it. Your life is successful. Also, how to receive spiritual knowledge. Also in the Mukunda Upanishad, we find Tad Vijnanatam Sagurum Eva Hi Gachet. And here, Lord Chaitanya is speaking, again, I think to Rupa Goswami. To understand the transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Then he tells more. Srila Prabhupada explained, thus the method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on speculation. Here, Lord Chaitanya tells Rupa Goswami, Brahmananda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakta Lata Bij. What does that mean? It means that in the course of traveling the universal creation of Brahma, someone fortunate may receive the seed of the Bhakti Lata, creeper of devotional service. So this devotional service we're talking about is very hard to get. This is by the grace of Guru and Krishna. The material world is a place of confinement for the living entities, who are by nature Anandamaya, pleasure seeking. So what does that mean? They actually want to be free from the confinement of the material world of conditioned happiness. But they do not know. Better if I say, we do not know the process of liberation. So we are bound to the migration from one species of life to another, and from one planet to the other. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. This wandering process needs to be understood properly. We have to now start to think not about my local community. I'm not just wandering in my local community, wherever your local community is, my local country. No. And we're not even wandering in this planet, in this one planet, this Earth planet. We're not even wandering in this one little solar system, or 9 or 10 or whatever planets in our solar system. We're not wandering there. We're wandering throughout the vastness of the material universes. There is unlimited. That's how this jiva is wandering. It's vast. It is completely vast. It's beyond scientists' imagination. And now, because it's beyond their imagination, they will say things which sound remarkable. They will say there are more planets up there in space than grains of sand on all the deserts put together. So put all the deserts together on this planet and count every grain of sand. There's more stars up there than grains of sand in all the deserts in the world. So how much planets is there? How much grains of sand in all the deserts of the world? How much planets in this space? So we are wondering, trying to get out of this. We're caught up. How do we get out? It's very difficult. It's not easy. So when we actually meet a qualified person, when by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee, and is patiently serving him, we begin the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a pure soul who is very sincere. So we need to understand, if we are fortunate enough in this life to be able to do what we are doing now, and if you don't already have a guru, then you start to make plans. How can I contact? How can I actually find some qualified person and take initiation from them? This should not become an option. The optionality should be taken out of our thinking about this. No one is too old to get a guru, but it must be a right person. It's not just somebody who says, yes, I'm a guru. He must be tested. He must be in Guru Parampara. But one must be connected. And in that way, we can actually then access this devotional service. And in that way, start to make our material human life a complete success. And this society, this Srila Prabhupada explaining, this International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to human society at large. So if by fortune one takes advantage of the opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation is immediately open. So one should try to take it. We should try to take it and actually see, stay within ISKCON, find a guru within ISKCON, try to find some qualified guru, then serve that person. So I'm going to stop here for a little bit. I haven't run out of things to say, but I've not given anybody a chance to ask any questions about devotional service or about any aspect of spiritual life. So I'd like to do that. Any questions, any comments? I don't mind.
Devotees tend to be a little bit quiet. What I normally do is interrogate them.
Okay. So,
Hare
okay.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Very
Yes.
nice class. I have one question. Sorry.
Yes.
You know, you were explaining the 9 processes of devotional service,
Yes.
and there were 2. Like we have to act as a servant of the Lord and as a friend of the Lord.
That's
so
right.
how do we act like a servant of the Lord and friend of the how in a practical life? How can we act like that?
Okay. Let me go back. So just allow me to go back. Okay. Okay, this one here, acting as a Lord's servant.
Yeah.
Mataji?
Number 8, 7 and 8.
Okay. So which, you want me to speak about both or just one?
Both, please.
Okay. Acting as the Lord's servant, you know, is very important. As I said to you before, as I was going through this, I was explaining that they seem simple, but you will not be able to do it by yourself. You know, you'll not be able to do it by yourself. You know, it's like you have children, all those who are parents, you know, whether your child is grown up now or your children are very young, your children need supervision. Sometimes you have to shout, especially mothers. They have to shout. It's not that the child hasn't got a nice nature, but they don't want to do, they want to do, follow their own imagination, or they want to do something when they want to do it. And the mother's saying, no, tidy your bedroom, no, put your toys away, and they don't want to do it. Are they saying, well, you know, put your clothes up, have you washed your hands, have you done that? They have to be instructed. They have to be told.
Yeah.
They have to be guided. And sometimes they have to be scolded to do things properly. So similarly, acting as the Lord's servant is not just by left to our imagination. We have to have the discipline of how to do it. And that's where the guru comes in. No one will actually become really, no child's going to become totally obedient and well-behaved by himself. Very few. The nature may be there, but still, even the child with the best nature, and I know some devotees, some children, you know, back at the temple in Norwood, they were so well-behaved. You know, and Anjali Mataji, she's on the call, her boy was like that. Very nice nature, very, very gentle nature. But still he has to be told. You have to. The parent has to put guidance, has to set rules, has to put discipline. So similarly, that's the guru's job, is to actually teach you how to be the Lord's servant. And by being obedient to the guru and following the guru's instruction, you immediately start to learn how to serve the Lord. Because the guru is representing the Lord.
Krishna. Yeah.
And if you cannot please the guru, you can't please the Lord. If you can't be obedient to the guru, you won't be obedient to the Lord. So in that way, acting as a Lord's servant is something we have to be taught, and we have to do it. Follow his instructions. Follow his instructions. What are his instructions? You hear them, then you follow them. You're always acting pleasing for them. A good child is never disobedient to the parents. He's never going to do what his parent doesn't want him to do. That's not a good child. And the parent who has a child who only does what they want to do and follow the rules, the parent is very pleased. And the parent says, this is a good child.
Thank you.
That's 1. That's 7. Making friends with the Lord is that happens again. And I can give you the comparison with the guru. In the beginning, especially Nabi who is there, Jayanti is there, they will know. I have got a reputation amongst my God brothers and sisters internationally. I am the most chastised of all God brothers and sisters. No one has actually had such chastisement as me in any continent. And reason why? Because although you want to be in spiritual life, although you want to, but you may not be behaving up to the right standard. You may be a little bit too independent. You may be a little bit too arrogant. You may be a little bit too whatever, but the guru is not pleased. And therefore, actually, making friends is not possible. So he chastises. He chastises because he's not happy. There's too many rough edges. He has to knock the rough edges off. So he chastises and he puts you over there. You go and do that outside. Others are working inside, he puts you outside. Others are close by, he puts you over there. So that all the unwanted qualities can be rubbed off of you. And then when you become polished, when you actually start to behave nicely, when all the unwanted ways have gone, then the guru pulls you right close next to him at his feet and keeps you there as a friend, talks to you as a friend. Nabi and Jayanti knows. Talks to you confidential things. Calls you so very nice way the guru speaks. Similarly, the way Arjun is speaking, Krishna is speaking to Arjun, oh son of, Partha, Kunti this, Kunti that, such nice language as friendship. The guru also speaks like that when he's pleased with you, when he's satisfied with you, it's friendship. But in that friendship, the authority is still there because you know the authority, so you don't lose the boundary. The guru can afford to be friends with you. In the beginning, he can't be friends with you because you don't know what the boundaries are. But Arjun knew what the boundaries were, and the actually surrendered disciple know what the boundaries are. Although my guru is very sweet with me, he's always my master. He comes in the room, I stand up. I never lose the authority. In the same way, Lord Brahma goes to see Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna Lord Brahma is his first created being. You could say his first son. Lord loves him. But Lord Brahma, he bows down. They never lose the position, although the Lord is friendly towards him. But he knows the relationship. He is my master. So that friendship comes when we understand the relationship. And when we are actually, in a way, behaving nicely so the Lord can trust us. This is how the parent is friendly with the child when it gets to teenagers, when the child behaves in a particular way that respects the parent's authority and follows the right behavior. That becomes friendship. But the child should always know, yes, I'm not in charge. My Mata Shri and Pita Shri are in charge. So the making of friendship will be there. If you surrender and understand the relationship, it's a fixed equation. No child can become equal to the parent, and no devotee can become equal to the Lord. The child is always a child. The parent is always a parent, And we, as the devotee, are always going to be the servant to the Lord. But friendship is there. I haven't got time to say everything, but I'll give you some references. Look at Uddhava and Krishna. Look at Arjuna and Krishna. Friendship is there. Sweet friendship is there. But the devotees are always seeing Krishna as the master. But friendship is there. Sweet, loving friendship is there. Uddhava and Krishna is so sweet friendship. But the authority is there. Is that good, Mataji?
Yeah, yes, thank you. It's very nicely explained. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from anybody? I was trying to remember Arab's names. Arab.
No, this is not that Anjali.
Oh, it's not that Anjali.
No.
Okay.
This is Anjali Geeta. If you remember Geeta, the young lady who used to come and serve in the temple, and Anjali Mataji used to come a lot as well with Geeta.
Okay.
So
okay.
they've been.
So my apologies, Anjali. Maybe you should show your face and I will get to see you.
Oh, no, I think she's a bit shy.
That's okay. That's all right. Shy is all right. Yeah. You're a lady and you're shy. I'm a man and I'm more shy than you. So only when I have something to say, I will say it. Anyway, let me just push on then. If there's no more questions, there's a few more slides. So here,
so you
the material miseries of the living entity can... Krishna?
You've got 10 minutes. So that's
okay.
That's
I'll just do these few slides because I want to end with the chanting, and then there's any questions, and whatever we're going to do. So the material miseries of the living entity can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. And what this picture is telling us, for those who can't work it out, so many times been given the example that we are in an ocean, the ocean of material existence. Because in an ocean, even if you're in a big ship, I was giving the example on Friday, even a big, cruise ship. I remember 5-6 years ago, one of them, they overturned. You remember? I think it was Concordia, the name of it. But even a big cruise ship, it's a very big, gigantic ship, but still it turned over and people died. So generally in the material world is considered as a great big ocean, and we're in the ocean. So the waves will come and throw us all around, but how to get out? By the linking process of devotional service, we can then get out. So devotional service is very important. The only way to quiet the storm of life is to engage in devotional service. And one of the very nice ways of engaging in devotional service, the most recommended way for Kali Yuga, and I'll just do this slide first and I'll get to that. So we need to remember material things, because we're in this material body and we get material education first. We are often convinced that thinking that my family, my wealth, my fame, my position, all these things will help me. All these things are very important. They are important, but they're not the paramount importance. The most important thing is devotional service. Those things cannot get you the association of Lord Chaitanya, but devotional service, a little devotional service, can get the Lord's attention straight away. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and side by side trying to understand Krishna. So staying in devotee association like this, chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the beginning of pure devotional service. The Maha Mantra cannot be contaminated. The Maha Mantra is not a figment of anybody's imagination. The Maha Mantra is not an imposition on the mind of anyone, any culture, any gender, anywhere, any social class. When you chant this Maha Mantra, you're simply taking to your original activity of devotional service, and it is bona fide. The Lord actually starts to say, okay, now this person is actually, the cleansing process starts. And sooner or later, either way, you cannot even get this Maha Mantra without the Lord's mercy. Because somehow in your mind, in your heart, you must have given some indication to Paramatma. Look, I want to know more. Usually it starts with, I want to know who am I? What am I doing here? Where do I go from here? Usually it starts like that. Anyone who's asking those questions, sooner or later, Paramatma makes a connection for them so that they meet a devotee and they're here and they can actually start devotional service. So if you're ready at this point, you're advanced along the road on this journey, then remember and be convinced, chant, especially in this time of lockdown. Sometimes we get bored because we can't go and do our usual activities. But one activity you can always do, and I recommend 2 activities. Try to actually condition your mind to do more. Read more and chant more. Read more and chant more. And if you don't like to read, then listen more and chant more. Listen more and chant more. Okay? If reading is not for you, then listen more to Bhagavad Gita, listen more to Srimad Bhagavatam, but definitely chant more. Anyone who was not chanting 16 rounds, by the end of lockdown, should be chanting 16 rounds. Anyone who's just stuck on 16 rounds, by the end of lockdown, you should at least be doubling that because you've got the time. No one can say I haven't got the time. So my humble encouragement is to please engage more and more in devotional service and actually see it as the greatest gift that the Lord has actually been able to give. And it's the only thing. And I would like to continue this because there's a lot more that Rupa Goswami has said that I need to actually explain. This is just the introduction to devotional service. With Nabi's permission, I would like to speak some more on devotional service. So for today, I'll stop here. Any further questions, then I'll take them. Okay, Nabi Prabhu, I hand over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that wonderful class. Appreciate your effort, actually. Very nice. So yeah, we'll carry on next Sunday, Anant Vijay Prabhu, if you're free.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes.
Tomorrow, actually, we are talking about a very amazing personality, Baladev Vidyabhushan.
Yes.
His disappearance day. Also, it's Ganga Puja. So we're going to take a little break from our series on the avatars and going to talk about these 2 personalities.
Okay.
And very, very interesting Baladev Vidyabhushan.
And what time is that, Nabi Prabhu?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, okay.
Join if you can.
Okay.
And Srila Prabhupada has dedicated Bhagavad Gita as it is to this devotee,
Yes.
Baladev Vidyabhushan. So tomorrow we'll find out why.
Okay, all right.
So we'd like to pray, of course, for everybody's good health.
Yes.
Especially spiritual health. And very good advice. Everybody should be increasing their rounds, the reading, the listening. Very, very good advice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So, Karuna Banda, let's chant Lord Nrsingadev. Oh, if you could stop sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. If you stop
Yes, Prabhu.
sharing, and I can
Yes, thank you.
share. Let me see if I can get it up. So, can anybody see the screen? Is the Nrsinga Kavach on?
Not yet.
No. Okay.
Not yet.
Let me just do it again. Actually, Karuna, you can start, and we'll catch up.
Okay, Prabhu.
We will catch
Okay.
up.
Shri Lakshmi Nrsinga Dev Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai,
Yeah.
Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Nrsimha Kavacham Vakshe Prahladena Ditam Pura, Sarvaraksha-karam Punyam Sarvopadravanashanam, Sarvasampatkaram Chaiva Swargamoksha-pradayakam, Dhyadva Nrsimham Devesham Hema-simhasanasthitam, Vivrittasyam Trinayanam Sharadindushamaprabham, Lakshmalingita-vamangam Vibhuti-virupashritam, Chaturbhujam Komalangam Swarnakundarashobhitam, Shriyasu Shobhitoraskam Ratnakeyuramudritam, Taptakanchana Shankasham Pita Nirmalavasasam, Indradi Suramolishta Suranmanikya Dipidi, Virajita Padadhanvam Shankachakradi Hetudi, Gurutmata Cha Vinayat Stuyamanam Mudanvitam, Swarita Kamala Samvasam Kridvatu Kavachapate, Nrsimho me Shira Patu Lokarakshat Sambhava, सर्वगोपी स्तम्भवास फालं मे रक्षतु ध्वनिम् नरसिंहो मे दृशौ पातु सोमसूर्याग्निलोचन स्मृतं मे पातु नरहरि मुनिवार्यस्तुतिप्रिय नासं मे सिंहनासस्तु मुखं लक्ष्मीमुखप्रिय सर्वविद्याधिपा पातु नरसिंहो रसना मम वक्त्रं पार्विन्दुवदनं सदा प्रह्लादवन्दित नरसिंह पातु मे कण्ठं स्कन्धो भूभरनान्तके दिव्यास्त्रशोभितो भुज नरसिंह पातु मे भुजौ करौ मे देवा वरदो नरसिंह पातु सर्वदा हृदयं योगी साध्याश्च निवासं पातु मे हरि मह्यं पातु हिरण्याक्ष वक्षा कुक्षिविदारण नाभिं मे पातु नरहरि स्वनाभि ब्रह्म संस्तुत ब्रह्मादकोटया कत्यां यास्य सो पातु मे कतिम् गुह्यं मे पातु गुह्यानां मन्त्राणां गुह्यरूपधृक् गुरुमनोभव पातु जानूनि नररूपधृक् जाङ्गे पातु धराभार हर्ता योऽसौ नृकेशरी सुरराजप्रदा पातु पादौ मे नरईश्वरा सहर्ष शीर्षा पुरुषा पातु मे सर्वतस्तमिन् बहुग्रह पूर्वतः पातु महावीराग्रजोनित महाविष्णु दक्षिणे तु महाजालस्तु नैऋतौ पश्चिमे पातु सर्वेषु दिशि मे सर्वतोमुखः नरसिंह पातु वायाव्यां सौम्यं भीषणविग्रहः शान्यां पातु भद्रो मे सर्वमङ्गलदायकः संसारभयतः पातु मृत्योर्मृत्योर्निकेशरी इदं नरसिंह कवचं प्रह्लादमुखमन्डितम् भक्तिमान्यपते नैत्यं सर्वपापै प्रमुच्यते पुत्रवान् धनवान् लोके दीर्घायुरुपजायते यं यं कामयते कामं तं तं प्राप्नोति असंशयं सर्वत्र जयमाप्नोति सर्वत्र विजयी भवेत् भूयन्तरिक्षदिव्यानां ग्रहाणां विनिवारणं वृश्चिकरोगसम्भूत विशापाहरणं परम् ब्रह्मरक्षास याक्षाणां दुरोत्सारणकारणं भुजे वा तालपत्रे वा कवचं लिखितं शुभं कर्मूले धृतां येन सिद्ध्येयुः कर्मसिद्ध्यय देवासुरमनुष्येषु स्वं स्वमेव जयं लभेत् एकसन्ध्यं त्रिसन्ध्यं वा यावते नियतो नरः सर्वमाङ्गलमाङ्गल्यं भुक्तिं मुक्तिं च विन्दति द्वात्रिंशतिसहस्राणि पतेच्छूतात्मभिर्निभिः कवचस्यास्य मन्त्रस्य मन्त्रसिद्धिः प्रजायते अनेन मन्त्रराजेन कृत्वा भस्माभिर्मन्त्रणम् तिर्यक्कं बिभ्र्याद्यस्तु तस्य ग्रहभयं हरे त्रिवारं जपमानस्तु दातं वर्याभिमन्त्रस्य प्रशयेद्यं नरं मन्त्रं नरसिंहध्यानमाचरेत् तस्य रोगाः प्रणश्यन्ति ये चक्षुकुक्षिसम्भव किमत्र बहुनोक्तेन नरसिंहसदृशो भवेत् मनसा चिन्तितं यत्तु तच्चाप्नोत्यसंशयम् गर्जन्तं गर्जयन्तं द्विजभुजपतनं श्रुतयन्तं हतन्तं दीप्यान्तं तापयान्तं दिवि भुवि दितिजं क्षिपयन्तं क्षिपन्तं क्रान्तान्तं रोषयन्तं दिशि दिशि सततं संहरन्तं हरन्तं वीक्षान्तं पूरयान्तं करनिकरशतै दिव्यसिंहं नमामि इति श्रीब्रह्माण्डपुराणे प्रह्लादोक्तं श्रीनरसिंहकवचं सम्पूर्णम् श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय हरे कृष्णा
Karuna Banda ki jai.
Jai.
You
महाराज की
didn't
जय
even take a breath, did you? You went right through that. Very, very nice.
Very good.
no I have to take breath.
Just to remind devotees that on Tuesday is Pandar Nirjal Ekadashi, Bhim Ekadashi, and we try to fast on this Ekadashi without any food at all, any prashadam, and if possible, especially if the health allows, we try to avoid even water. That's why it's called Nirjal, no jal, water. And the reason we do this is because if during the year we've made any mistakes in the Ekadashis that we follow, perhaps accidentally taken some grains, then it's said that performing this Ekadashi nicely gives us the effect of doing all the 26 Ekadashis in the year, or 24, whatever it is. So it's a very, very nice Ekadashi to do, and we will be having, in fact, 2 satsangs that day, maybe even 3 satsangs. So do join us. We'll post them on the group. If you want to know more about the fast, just ask us the questions individually or in the group. It doesn't matter, so that you can be informed. But it's a very, very good day to fast. And in the UK, it's going to be the hottest day of the year. just to inspire us. And in Bharat, it is extremely hot.
Yes.
Anyway, I wanted to actually request Gopal Prabhu, you're on the call. Would you like to, or even Bhakti, would like to sing to Lord Nrsingadev? We wanted to pray. Uddhav mentioned yesterday that one of his wife, Chacha, has got this COVID-19. His name is Ajay Sharma, so we want to pray that he gets over that very quickly. And if there's anybody else devotees like to remember, please do so.
Bhakti. Go on, Bhakti.
Namaste Nara Singaya.
Namaste Nara Singaya.
Prahlada Lada Daine Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatankaha Ito Nasingho Parato Nasingho Yato Yato Yamitato Nasingho
Nidale Narsinga
Bahe Nasingha Hridaye Nasingha Narasingha Marin Saranam Prapade
Abhuta Sringa Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jagadi Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Avakara Kamalavare Nakam Arbuta Sringa Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringa Keshavadita Harirupa Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jayo Jagadisha Hare
Narsingadev Jayo Narsingadev
Jayo Narsingadev 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 Jayo Narsingadev
Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj.
Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj.
Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Nishingadev Bhagwan ki,
Jai.
Prahlad Maharaj ki,
Jai.
Maharaj ki, Bhakti Devi ki jai. She sang
Jai.
as well. We had a Krishna stories for children, and she sang very, very beautifully. So amazing, amazing. Well done, Gopal, for training us so nicely. Okay, so we like to chant one round, and actually I had a wonderful pastime. When Srila Prabhupada was living in Damodar Mandir, and his Guru Maharaj, of course, had asked him or ordered him to preach this Hare Krishna in the West or in English. So this was a very challenging order that he had received. So there was one, whilst he was living in Radha Damodar temple, in the 50s and early 60s, there was another Goswami who lived there, whose name was Hidananda Goswami. He was a Brijbasi. He lived in Vrindavan for 70, 80 years. And he was relating how he had never seen anybody like Prabhupada and his sadhana. It was so strong. And in the middle of the night, he would be crying and begging at Rupa Goswami's samadhi for the mercy of the acharyas. And he would be sweet, he would be crying and crying. He related that he would hear somebody crying, and then one night he actually went and saw, who is this? And he saw it was Prabhupada. Prabhupada would be sweeping the samadhi, doing menial service, but crying out to him, my Guru Maharaj has given me an impossible order. Please help me to fulfill this order. So we similarly should be crying. This is, Govind Swami used to say, this is a crying movement. We should be crying for the Lord's mercy. So when we're chanting, so we'll do one round together now, if devotees have time. If you don't have time, thank you for joining, and hopefully we'll see you soon. But if you are able to spare 7-8 minutes, we can chant one round together, and we can chant it with some feeling, and this crying attitude is very important to establish bhakti within our heart very firmly. So let's chant to Lord Chaitanya first. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri
Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
You can unmute yourself and chant loudly. It'd be nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama
Krishna Krishna,
Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Rama, Rama,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Rama,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Rama,
Krishna, Hare
Rama
Hare,
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Rama,
Krishna, Hare Rama,
Rama, Rama,
Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Rama,
Hare Ram,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Rama, Hare
Hare Ram,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Ram,
Rama,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare
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 Rama,
Krishna,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare Hare.
Rama, Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama
Krishna
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram Ram,
Krishna
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
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 Krishna,
Ram,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Ram,
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram, Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Ram, Hare
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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
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 Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram,
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare
Hare Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Ram,
Ram,
Hare
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 Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
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 Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Ram,
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna, Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram, Hare
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 Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare
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 Krishna, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,